I have now seen where the end of cancer is coming from. I've seen how the war is going to finish because I've had well over a dozen patients, and there are hundreds of people like this that are starting to form that can go from stage 4 cancer, that's game over cancer, to stage 0. We can do this. And it not for everybody yet, but we're beginning to see where the light at the end of the tunnel is, and it involves your immune system. And some of the remarkable scientific breakthroughs are teaching us that our body heals itself against diseases as serious as cancer in ways that the pharmaceutical industry can't by itself do. But it really relies on the body. So when you talk about food as medicine or medicine as medicine, none of them are as powerful as what the body is hardwired to do by itself. So with this kind of knowledge, what can we do with cancers? Not just breast cancers, but in general. Number one, we know that if you boost your immune system with foods, with exercise, diet, lifestyle, you're going to actually make your immune defenses a lot stronger to patrol your body to wipe out those microscopic cancers. That's why healthy diet and lifestyle lowers the risk of cancer. That's why eating the right foods that boost your immunity can substantially lower your risk of cancer as well. We also know that you can eat foods that support, prompt up, fortify your body's natural ability to control blood vessels. Keep those blood vessels where they're supposed to be and get rid of those blood vessels where you don't want them to be, which is kicking in the cockpit to take over your circulation to feed cancers. So if you eat foods that are anti-androgenic foods, like out on Staple, you've got coffee and tea. Both of those contain natural substances that cut off the blood supply and starve cancers. That's a good thing. So that's why we know what we do with our diet can actually help to lower the risk of cancer as well.
I'm assuming the opposite also applies. I could eat foods, I can drink things that cause my body to malfunction, i.e. makes the blood vessels unregulated, and starts to feed the cancer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay. Excess sodium, too much salt, which can be present in a lot of restaurant foods. People eat out a lot, go to restaurants all the time. You ever go to the back of a kitchen of a restaurant to see how they're seasoning their food? Patrons love salty food. It makes food taste really great. Our brains respond very well to salty food. That high sodium levels actually speeds up, accelerates our cellular aging. So we actually age faster, but it also is a huge wear and tear on our health defenses, specifically our circulation. Our blood vessels, our angiogenesis system is taken down by excess salt. High blood sugar can also do the same thing. So if you're eating an excess of added sugar, we all have heard by now, glucose spikes and glucose crashes. I don't actually use those words, by the way. I don't like to actually cast our body's metabolism in terms of spikes and crashes. I think those are fear words that get attention. They do make you pay attention to it, but in fact, really, the healthy body sort of has smooth ups and smooth downs. They're gentle slopes up and down of our blood sugar, and that's completely fine. All right, and it should be like that. However, if you have an uphill climb of your blood glucose and it continues to stay up, that can actually happen if you're eating too much added sugar. Okay, added sugar, ultra processed foods. What happens is that your blood sugars, your intake of the sugar, glucose, rises up, 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 up. And now your metabolism to chase that blood sugar down, and it's got to work harder and make more insulin. And eventually you just wear out that system, and then you have a high blood glucose and an insensitive metabolism. And that's the beginning of sort of the dominoes starting to fall apart in your body. And so sugar, high blood sugar, added sugar is a problem. You get it from fruit, not a problem, okay? No one's going to be eating a crazy amount of fruit. This is why extremes aren't good. Diversity, switch it out. Keep it interesting for yourself. This is what our human nature wants anyway. It's how we're hardwired. You'll actually be fine. So salt, sugar, those are two offenders, okay? Alcohol is another one that actually can take down your health defenses over time. People say, well, what about red wine? Isn't red wine healthy? What I would say is that actually the fermented products or the bioactives that come out of red grapes from the skin of red grapes that's found in red wine, there can be some healthful properties of the resveratrol and other polyphenols that come out of that are in wine, but it's never the alcohol. Yeah. It's not the alcohol in the beer, the wine, the whiskey. Nope, none of that is. The alcohol is a universal toxin, toxic to your brain, toxic to your liver, toxic to your heart. Can't get away from that. Your body will recover, shields up. It can take a ding. It's like like a drink is sort of like a driving behind a truck, and it flings a little pebble right into your windshield. You might get a little spider in the windshield. Okay, don't worry, it'll repair itself. You'll fix yourself. You'll bounce back. It's not going to break your windshield. But if you keep on drinking, you're actually going to smash your windshield, and that's why alcoholism is so devastating to the health. But I do see matcha on this tray. I want to tell you about matcha because matcha is truly a super enriched, polyphenol enriched tea. A lot of people don't realize it. There's no tea bag in it, so don't worry. Yeah. So a lot of people think about matcha as just another green tea, but it's not another green tea. It is made with green tea leaves, the same kind of green tea leaves, but as you would find in any green tea. However, what's the composition of matcha? Matcha is green tea that is, before it's ready for harvest, is grown under a shade that changes its chemical structure, natural chemical structure a little bit. So it's got a lot of potency to it. And what happens with matcha is they take the tea leaf, they take out the stem of the green tea leaf, and they ground up the actual leaf into a powder. Now, what's in that green tea leaf? You've got not just some of the polyphenols that might steep out in the cup, whether you're using a tea bag or loose leaf tea, you're getting all the polyphenols suspended in that. So now you get 100% polyphenol, okay, in matcha. So go ahead, go ahead, do it. Okay, that one's good. All right. Okay, for matcha. And because you're getting the tea leaf ground to it, you're also getting your dietary fiber. That dietary fiber is good for your gut health, your microbiome, good for your metabolism, good for lowering inflammation. And the polyphenols found in green tea have also been, matcha tea, have also been found in the lab to kill breast cancer stem cells. What's a breast cancer stem cell? What's a cancer stem cell? Well, look, stem cells are these renewable cells, all right? And cancers contain stem cells that help the cancers come back, right? If you got cancer, you get it treated. The one thing you don't want it to do is to come back. So, and by the way, other foods can also kill cancer stem cells. Purple potatoes that you might have seen in the market, they're kind of purpley looking on the outside. Slice it open, dark purple on the inside. All right. Turns out that those purple potatoes have something called anthocyanins. Purple potatoes have been studied in a lab, okay, at Penn State University and been shown to kill colon cancer stem cells, which contribute to the colon cancer coming back.
So full disclaimer, I made a very, very big investment, a 7-figure investment into a matcha company a couple of years ago. And if you look at the search trend data on the subject of matcha, I don't know if you've seen this, but I'll throw it up on the screen for anyone that's watching on video, but you can see how it's just come out of nowhere. It seems it's exploded. And when you say that matcha cells have an impact on breast cancer cells, what does that mean in reality? Does it, because obviously the conclusion one might jump to is that if you drink matcha, you're lowering your risk of breast cancer. But that's not necessarily what you're saying.
What I am saying is that drinking green tea in its most healthful form, okay, raises your body's health defense systems.
Yeah.
And by having better health defense systems, better immunity, better control of your blood vessels, better control over your DNA and those mutations. And if you can actually kill some of those stem cells, cancer stem cells, that's going to be in your favor as well. That is overall going to actually lower your risk of cancer. And so I think that, and by the way, the other thing that green tea and matcha can actually do is improve your metabolism. It's really pretty much all good. My great uncle, by the way, lived to 104 years old, vital, intact, independent. He told me that he attributed his longevity and his vitality to the fact that he lived at the base of a mountain that grew tea, that every morning he got up and he walked up stone steps, a stone path to a tea garden, and he had freshly picked tea. It's all organically grown and everything. And he drank tea all day long. He probably had 10 cups of green tea a day, and this has been his whole life. He sat with his close friends who are also very vibrant and elderly. Social connection, all right? Watch the sunrise. It's very calming.
Do you drink it?
Absolutely. It turns out that we've known for a long time that unhealthy diets are linked to a higher risk of colorectal cancer, specifically processed meats. So the World Health Organization considers processed meats, salami, bologna, ultra processed, kind of deli meats, delicatessen meats you find in delicatessen. All right. Those would be considered carcinogens, and they are highly linked to an increased risk of bowel cancers. Now, why would that be? Well, it turns out that, think about it, if you're eating a ton of meat, all right, you're actually exposing the gut to a lot of those processed meat carcinogens that, when it sits around in your colon, not once in a while, go to the ball game, have a hot dog, enjoy yourself. But if you eat it day in and day out, you're giving a lot of exposure to your gut. And, research studies have shown that tomatoes are good for overall health. You mentioned prostate cancer. So studies have shown that men who eat tomatoes regularly, cooked tomatoes, actually have a 29% lower risk of developing prostate cancer. It's pretty good. What's the dose of the tomatoes that you need to cook tomatoes you need to eat? 2 to 3 servings per week. All right. I can probably accomplish that. How much each time? Do I got to eat a wheelbarrow of tomato each time? No. The typical serving that this study supports is just half a cup of cooked tomatoes is per serving.
How do they know this stuff? Because obviously, how do they isolate that in a test?
So these are from large-scale population studies. In this case, it's a epidemiological study called the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study, where they developed hypotheses and they looked at outcomes over the course of 25 years, and they looked for statistical correlations. So they found that tomatoes lower the risk of prostate cancer based on people reporting their tomato eating. Then they actually went back and looked at the report within the data collected. How much do they eat on average every week? So that then you can actually back calculate the dose. All right. Now, I told you earlier about the way that I do research, foods and medicine research. Let's take it further. Let's figure out what's in a tomato. Well, tomatoes have lots of. It's got sugar. It's got some salt. It's got carotenoids, which are bioactives. One of which is lycopene. Well, okay, what does lycopene do? Guess what lycopene does? Lycopene in the lab will cut off the blood supply to tumors. Anti-angiogenesis. Shores up your health defense systems, prevents cancer from getting a blood supply. And in fact, in correlative studies, they've actually taken the prostate cancer biopsies of men who did not avoid prostate cancer. So they were tomato eaters who went on to develop prostate cancer anyway. Nothing takes your risk to zero. And they looked at them, and what they found is that those men who ate more tomatoes had fewer blood vessels in their prostate cancer, and the prostate cancer was also less aggressive. So people who ate 4 times and 5 times and 6 times had fewer and less aggressive blood vessels growing into their prostate cancer. So that's an example where, if I told you, consider having some cooked tomatoes a few times a week, and you don't need a lot. Even half a cup is enough. Oh, why cook tomatoes? Well, because it turns out lycopene is a natural chemical that in its native form, pick a tomato off the vine and eat it that like an apple, it's absorbed in your body, but not avidly, not as much as possible.
So I wanted a little challenge for you is if you had to pick 5 of your favorite foods based on the research that you've done, the science you've seen, what would those top 5 be?
I would bring coffee.
Okay.
Because of all the polyphenols in coffee. I'd bring tea.
Okay.
I tend to drink coffee in the morning and I have tea at night. And I'm not caffeine sensitive, so I can have the tea at night. If you allow me, I'll actually lump those into my beverages.
Okay.
Under one category. I'll bring tree nuts.
Tree nuts.
Tree nuts, walnuts, almonds, macadamias, pistachios. I love nuts, tree nuts. And, not the prepackaged kind, but I like to, kind of like toast them up myself and flavor them myself. I would bring that because of the dietary fiber, the healthy it's a good source of protein, some healthy fats in it as well, and can kill some cancer stem cells while we're at it. Okay. So tree nuts are actually good. I would bring tomatoes because I love tomatoes.
Okay.
It's a great source for hydration, good source of lycopene, which we talked about, good for metabolism. I would take berries. Berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries are among my favorites. Raspberries, you might be surprised at this, but raspberries are pound for pound or weight for weight, one of the most fiber-rich foods out there. They're light, they're hollow, packed with fiber, and they've got polyphenols that are useful for lowering inflammation as well. Berries are actually really good. And then, because I follow what I call the Mediterranean style of eating, I love to have those vegetables that are actually used in both the Mediterranean and Asia, Mediterranean style cooking, the bok choy, the kale, chicory, escarole, all of those types of leafy greens. So those would be the 5 I would actually take with me.